All right, guys, Joe McDonough here for My MMA News, joined by Joe Solecki. Great first name, obviously. Joe, talk to me about 2020. One fight in 2020. Here we are a couple weeks out from, your fight in April. First time we've seen you since August. Only one fight in 2020. I'm assuming that here in 2021, you'd like that to be much more.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the big thing was, well, two things. I fought in December of 2019. So, within 13 months, I had kind of two fights. But I think the other thing was having to pull out of that first Hubbard fight, with COVID. So, it looked like they would have got me in there at least twice, if not, which I think is good. 2 to 3 times. 3 is usually ideal, if not 4. But, I definitely want to be more active this year. I was healthy, other than having that COVID test at the wrong time, because really I trained through that week, in quarantine with the 2 or 3 other people that had it along with me. But other than feeling bad for that 1 week, any other week of training camp, I would have been good to fight still. So, I'm always training. I'm always ready. But I do think, kind of like a blessing in disguise is I get these big breaks sometimes in between fights, like kind of before the Wyman fight as well. And before the last one, 6 to 7 months. And I get to come back and, be a totally different person, because I'm at that stage in the game right now where, at my age, I can really, really grow quickly. So, it's all kind of a blessing in disguise, I think.
And we love to see, how much you've grown from fight to fight. That Hubbard finish, obviously, it was your second UFC win. So it wasn't your debut win, but the first big submission win, the first big stoppage win. Talk to us about that. Did that almost feel just as good as that first UFC win?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They all feel good. Anytime I can get my hand raised, be it on the regional scene, be it as an amateur, early pro, or now, But, yeah, that definitely felt good, because my first fight, I was fighting somebody who may have been on the way out, or we just saw he retired, So kind of a way to discount that and be like, well, he maybe wasn't putting everything into it. But in the Hubbard fight, I got to fight somebody where I know he's training like I am. I know he has the same goals that I have, I'm sure. And, somebody that was, very tough out and had come off a really big win. So just being able to beat somebody like that, and then also in that fashion. So I kind of got to prove that I could do what I did on the Contender Series pretty much, which is that first round submission on the big stage. And that meant a lot to me for sure.
Absolutely, man. And, the names like Austin Hubbard, and now Jim Miller, we'll get to talking about Jim Miller in a minute. But, to get these big names here, right at the beginning of your UFC career shows that how much, they believe in you. And us fans are, obviously see you as a huge time prospect, right on the cusp there. Talk to us about that. Is there added pressure with that, getting these kind of bigger names right off the bat?
Not really. I put a ton of pressure on myself always, just because and I know it's the cliche thing that most people are going to say, but I do put a lot of pressure on myself. But it's funny when people say that, like, oh, you're a prospect and we're watching your career, or, like you said, like, oh, the matchmakers clearly are giving you good opportunities. And it's so funny, because in my point of view, I'm like, oh, they probably don't know who I am, and they just have my name on a board with a lightweight. So like, put him, I really think of it like that. So it's cool that people do want to follow my career and want to give me opportunities or whatever it may be. But gosh, I couldn't be more humbled and more excited for the opportunities. I don't really feel that pressure other than what I'm putting on myself, which is I want to keep winning. I want to keep climbing. But I just take it one fight at a time. My boxing coach has had a great saying since I started working with him, trying to learn how to, figure out this whole stand-up thing. And he was like, a punch is just a punch and a kick is just a kick. And then I was texting him last night, and I was like, I'm adding on to that. Like, a fight is just a fight and a man is just a man, So, and I really believe that. At the end of the day, we're going to go out there, and you can't, you bring your name in there because they announce you, but you can't bring your credentials in. I can't bring that win over Hubbard in the cage. There's just experiences and learning that you take from your fights. But other than that, you can train with American Top Team, but guess what? You can't bring your whole mega camp in the cage, So I try to ignore those things best I can and just take that pressure off and just take it fight by fight.
Absolutely. And I like what you said there, as I'm sitting here saying, that they're setting you up with these guys to test you and see that you can get onto the next. And you said that you're just a name on a board. I think that, shows the added hunger that you have instead of pressure. You had just said, that you can't bring credentials with you. Jim Miller obviously has a long list of credentials. He has, he's been in there with the best of the best. And I like what you just said. A fight is a fight. A man is a man. Essentially right now, you going into that fight, you have to separate Jim Miller's kind of resume to just Jim Miller, the fighter that you're going to see on April 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're going off of, here's the thing, like I'm a Jim Miller fan, like literally, like not just like, oh, I like Jim Miller. Like I grew up in New Jersey. I'm a Jim Miller fan.
Yeah.
A lot of how I fight comes from watching Jim Miller. I do a lot of front headlock stuff. I do a lot of back takes, and I always try to be a fast starter as well. And I always rooted for the Miller brothers. But the thing is like, yeah, I mean, he can take all the lessons of being in the cage with those guys and those wins, those losses, and that is a dangerous thing if I let it be. If I fight my age, then that's definitely dangerous. If I start trying to rush at him or, a lot of things that people at the moment get to them. But especially in these no crowd fights, I don't think that should be an issue. I think this should be like if I was coming up to Jersey to spar Jim Miller, it should be our games versus each other, But yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to, is just he can't bring his credentials in, but he has the experience. So, but if we're basing things off the past, then I'm the kid that lost every jiu-jitsu tournament from 6 to 16, and I've proven I'm not, So, what's really cool about fighting is it's all on that given night, and I truly believe on any given night I can hang with any of these guys, and that's what I'm going to show on the 10th.
And like you said, you're a Jim Miller fan, so is there like this awe, factor in there of fighting a guy that you've been watching, a decade ago?
I don't think on fight night, because I fought Wyman and I was, I liked him when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, and I watched that when I was like 12. But I think when you first get that contract, you're like, oh wow, it's pretty cool. Like it's coming full circle. I'm fighting guys I used to watch and look up to, which is what all the cliches say is supposed to happen if you're doing things right. So that's that aha moment. But I can't imagine on fight night it's going to be that way because I'm just too in the moment on fight night. I'm very, very, the one thing I think I do better than maybe a lot of guys I've been around is I know as a fighter, the things I do well and the things I need to work on. But as a competitor, I know I'm a good competitor. I know on fight night or competition day when there was jiu-jitsu tournaments that I'm going to show up in the right headspace, ready to go as soon as they say go. And I don't think that's going to be any different. I have a ton of respect for them. And the best thing I can do if I respect somebody is go after them as hard as I can, like I do with the guys I train with. So that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. And, Contender Series is supposedly coming back around June. You're a Contender Series guy, got a first round finish, got a contract, everything. What advice would you give on kind of knowing what you know now from being there to fighters that may be competing this summer on Contender Series?
I don't think there's any secret because it really is how it looks on the show, But if I had a teammate that was going to do it, the one thing I would say is take it serious, There's been a few people that have gotten multiple chances at it, but really that's your chance to get in front of the UFC brass. You can send video and, you can have them watch maybe you fight for CFFC and they're watching on Fight Pass because they recruit a lot of guys from there. But at the end of the day is when somebody gets to watch you do your craft in person, see how you carry yourself, see the intensity that you bring to a cage when you fight. And you really don't get those opportunities very much. And even leading up to it, like we went out there for pre-production and like I had run into some people and seeing people, like, I was just walking. Me and my teammate Ali, who went with me, we were just walking around because I had never seen Las Vegas. Like I don't drink. I wouldn't even eat bad food because I was like, I'm here for business. Like it's not my cheat day. My cheat day Saturday. But we were walking around and we saw a couple guys just scattered, didn't talk to them or anything, and they were drinking. And it was like, I was like, well, I know they said he was fighting in June. That's 8 or 6 weeks. Mine's 10 weeks, whatever it was. And sure enough, you watch those fights and those guys ended up, coming up short. So I just think the one thing I would say is definitely if you had that opportunity to take it serious, because I knew for me it was do or die. I was 7-2 and 7-3 coming off the Contender Series wouldn't look very good to get back anytime soon. So I just took it like it was the last chance. I was first and last chance I would ever have in my career.
Yeah. And on the 10th, that's on ABC, second time ever for UFC. Is that something that you think about it? I mean, it's got to be a pretty cool moment, but, or, when you're walking, I'm sure when you walk into the cage, it doesn't matter, but is that something you're not even thinking about? It doesn't matter if it's on ESPN, ABC, pay-per-view, whatever. It's a fight.
Yeah. The first thing I always think is I want to fight first prelim curtain jerk, maybe second, just to get a little extra warm up, but just so I don't got to sit around. But, no, I think that's fantastic. I don't know where my fight's going to fall in that. If it'll make it to ABC, I'm not sure how it's working. But if it does, I think that's just one more really, really cool thing to be able to, tell my kids and grandkids one day. And just one more thing that when I do take that big breath, sit back and look back and be like, wow, that was one pretty cool thing we had, After the Contender Series was over, they went so in depth on like my life and me and my wife and so many different things that I was like, man, that was like, when it was happening, when thinking about it, got back home, watched it. We were like, man, that's pretty cool to show, our daughter one day. And if we have other kids or grandkids or whatever it might be, like that moment is captured forever, and we have that. And I think it's the same thing every time we get to fight on national TV. The more people that can see and you know, just get to know me as a fighter or get to know the sport, it's always great.
And, you know, I've never even actually thought of that, of how cool it must be to one day show it to, you know, a child, a grandchild, all of that stuff. You know, one of your only 2 losses, you know, you're on a 5-fight win streak. That opponent is in the UFC now. Is that something that you would like to revisit down the line?
You know, I've been asked that a little bit. It's funny, we have the same manager now, so I'm sure those matchups don't happen as much unless they have to. But it's not something I'm hung up on. You know, I had to come to terms with that. Like I was joking about it the other day. We were talking about people taking losses and stuff, and I was like, let's see. The losses hurt forever. You know, every time I think about it, it's going to hurt. But that was on a Saturday, and by Monday, I had to come to terms with it because I had practice. So I'm not hung up on it. Obviously, you always want those back, but I would never chase that, you know, unless it was something that's going to put me in a better position in my life, you know, or in my career, obviously. So if it came down to it, it was like, oh, one day I'm ranked 10 and he's 9. Well, yeah, definitely want to have that rematch. But for my ego, not really. It was a great fight. I won 2 rounds, and then the 3rd round I got sloppy because I got tired because I didn't manage energy well because of my, you know, one of my first few times being out of the first round, and I paid for it, you know, and that was probably the best lesson I've ever learned in the fight game from all the wins and losses. And you know, not harping on it, but if it did come back down the line, absolutely.
And that's something that I always hear, you know, those losses tend to make the bigger lessons than the wins sometimes. Last one for me here, Joe. Do you have a prediction for us? I mean, you know, are we looking at another big time first round submission?
You know, I would love to tell you yes, but I don't think so. You know, I never think so because I always plan for the same thing. But, you know, I do that. Maybe if I was fighting somebody that I was like, oh, this is an athletic striker who can't grapple, then I would plan on trying to get him out of there early. But, you know, this is Jim Miller. This is, you know, my first fight was Wyman, another seasoned vet, but Jim Miller's got a lot more of an offense, you know? So this is the kind of guy. And with Hubbard, I knew how tough he was. So I told everybody the same thing. It was 3-round, grind it out, get it done, get my hand raised. But I think that just speaks to the level of opponent I've had and the type of opponent I've had. But it's more of the same. I know who's in front of me. You know, if the neck's there, am I going to go after it? Absolutely. You know, if I achieve mount in the first round and have a chance to throw some elbows and punches and try to put water in the basement for later on in the fight or get him out of there, absolutely, I'll go for it. But the thing I always tell myself, and I always will, probably because of the mode of fight, is I'm going out there to grind it out for 3 rounds. And once my hand's raised, then I can lose focus on the 15 minutes. But we're focused on 15 minutes to get my hand raised.
Awesome, man. Well, I think we're all looking forward to it. I know I am. I thank you very much for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, thanks so much. Take care. Have a good day.